I have always enjoyed this series of video on our channel. Usually we talk about 4 bottles a piece that we've really been enjoying, but with you training like crazy and running your 50K race and now training for a marathon at the end of the summer, and with me training for that same marathon and for my 100-mile race in October, we're just not drinking that much. But we do have 4 bottles to share with you, 2 for Julie, 2 for me, and afterwards stick around because we're going to share a look at our visit to the tiny Bavarian town of Leavenworth, Washington.
It's so adorable.
It's super adorable. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so first on my list is Holladay Soft Red Wheat. It is a Missouri straight bourbon whiskey, and it comes in at a whopping 120.1 proof. If you're an avid watcher of the 5 Sip Friday series, you'll know we got this as a sample.
And who wouldn't be an avid watcher of that series? It's so great. It's the most fun thing on the internet.
It is really great, and I'm going to put a plug in for it because we're always in a different location, and it is super fun. We hardly ever get it right, but I still love it and still think it's my favorite thing we do on Whiskey too. So this one comes to us from Missouri, and it's their Rickhouse proof.
Yeah, there's not a lot of that around here in Oregon. This Holladay distillery, we've been hearing so many good things about it. Then Bob Long sent us that sample, and then we entered the Oregon Liquor Commission's chance to purchase, and when you know, we finally won something. It never, ever, ever happens, but there were 70 bottles of this available, and we got one. So $75 well spent. It's so flavorful. I keep saying whenever I try it, and I haven't had much, we're just getting into this bottle, but we really do enjoy it. I keep saying that it reminds me of some of my favorite whiskeys, both Elijah Craig barrel proof and some of the higher proof whiskeys from Buffalo Trace. Love that combination of flavors in there. That's a beautiful bottle.
It's 120 proof, but it doesn't drink that way. So next on my list is Still Austin Cask Strength Rye Whiskey. She's a $65 beauty, and I've just fallen in love with her.
We've fallen in love with everything that they make, and their ryes are amazing. So many huge flavors on this bottle.
Cherries, grilled peaches, rye spice. What's not to love?
I love it, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't have said any better than that. The flavors in there are enormous, and everybody that we share that bottle with seems to really, really like it. We shouldn't be too surprised by that. It's just a super palatable, appealing, delicious whiskey that's perfect for summertime.
Another high proof pick for Julie, coming in at 116 proof. We got some glasses here. What do you got for me?
Oh, have I got something for you. I think you're really, really, really going to enjoy these. At least I hope you do, because I've been enjoying the heck out of these. I've been sharing them with everybody. You're going to see on this first bottle, there's not much left. So first off, let me say that these 2 whiskeys are not made in America. They are made by Brown-Forman.
Love it.
These are Scotch whiskeys. They are Highland Scotch whiskeys. One of them was Whiskey Advocate's 2023 Whiskey of the Year. I didn't know anything about it until our friend Peach Coke introduced it to me about 6 months ago, and finally got into this one this summer and have not been able to put it down. This is the first of the Glenglassaugh bottles we're going to sip on tonight. It is called Sandend. It's a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey. Waves of tropical sweetness with a crack of sea salt. Love the look of this bottle, love the taste of this bottle, and it's this one here on the right. You can see the other one's a little darker.
Sure is.
A little bit of a surprise coming in a little while here, but I wanted to get on with the tasting of this one because I've been enjoying it so much and sharing it with so many people. I know you've had this one, but you haven't really just sat with a glass and enjoyed it, and I want to know your take on this. I'll give you a couple tasting notes and your thoughts. Do you think that this is as good as Whiskey Advocate seems to think that it is?
I hope so, because it's going quick, and I think we're probably going to get another one on the shelf soon.
I hope so as well. Got this bottle in the neighborhood of $75, and I believe this is 101 proof, which is very nice. That's a nice proof point for a Scotch whiskey. Gives it a little more bite, I think, and, well, let's just get on to the tasting of this one.
So right off the bat, I like the nose. It's got a little bit of that apple cideriness to it. I would think it's an Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
If I was doing this completely blind, That would be my initial guess.
A little bit of light brown sugar, a lot of honey, and very little in there to indicate that it is a Scotch. I agree with you. I think the Irish whiskey on the nose there for sure. Love the way this one looks and can't wait to taste it.
It's delightful.
Cheers.
Cheers. Interesting on this one. It actually reminded me of drinking a port on the finish.
Really?
It was really, the flavors really morphed. And that was like that finish that I got, like kind of a deep cherry, almost wine taste. A little bit dark and desserty there at the end.
Interesting. And all the tasting notes for me are very bright. There's almost like a toasted, like a walnut, like a pie crust or something like that going on here. A little bit of lemon going on. The sugar has gone from brown sugar to a simple syrup for me. There's a lot in here that is perfect for summertime. It's bright, it's lively. It is a little bit like a wine, like a Gewürztraminer or a Riesling or something like that, in my opinion. Let's have another sip.
So I totally agree with you. It is bright and light on the front of the palate. That flavor that I was talking about in my first sip, that definitely comes later on, more towards the finish. But it is summery, zesty, a little bit citrusy. It's got a little funk to it. It's definitely not Irish. It's delicious.
It is delicious. I'm glad that you agree with me on this. They said that this is inspired by the crescent beach of Sandend Bay. Glenglassaugh Sandend is matured in bourbon, sherry, and manzanilla casks for luscious waves of flavor. I think luscious is a great word to describe this whiskey. It really coats the tongue, coats the mouth. It's so satisfying at 101 proof. Just a beautiful whiskey in a beautiful bottle, and one that I will continue to keep on the shelf. I've been saying for a long time I don't need to keep more than one Scotch on the shelf because I don't drink that many of them, and I always want to try something new because I never know what it is that's really going to appeal to me. This bottle is the first one that I've found that I'm going, yeah, I want this on the shelf all the time.
I also think it's a really nice dip your toes into Scotch.
Yeah.
There's nothing off-putting about it. It's not smoky. There's no tire fire, which is the note I sometimes get when I drink Scotch. It is really light, summery. It's perfect for this season.
I absolutely agree with you. Big flavor and delicious flavor, and it's not going to shock you in any way. Check this one out, Glenglassaugh Sandend for $75, what we got this one for, and just beautiful.
What about this little guy over here?
Oh boy. All right. This one is a little different for sure. This is still Glenglassaugh, and it is Portsoy. This is deep maritime waves of peated coastal character. You were wondering where that peat was. Here it is. This is 98.2 proof, and I'm very excited for you to check this one out. This one I got in the neighborhood of $80, so a little pricier here. Also finished whiskey and peated whiskey. We'll get into a few more of the specifics down the road, but let's get on to the nose of this one.
Great. And I'm expecting this to be a little bit more scotchy, what you would normally think of when you drink of Scotch. Oh yeah, there it is on the nose.
There it is,
It's got a light smoke to it. Again, if I would have smelled this right away, I'd been like, probably a Scotch.
Absolutely. There's a hint of that rubber there, that tire rubber, but not tire fire. It's a distinct difference.
It's actually very pleasant. And maybe it's because I've been drinking a little bit more Scotch lately. I'm dipping my toes into that. The problem that I sometimes get with Scotch whiskey is that it's hard for me to differentiate any other flavors because I do get distracted by like the campfiriness or the smokiness, the peatiness that comes with it.
Yeah, that's totally a fair assessment. I do think that there's a nice brown sugar here, and this is the one. When they say maritime, I get that on here. I feel like you can smell the beach, the sea air there. I love that about this one. Just the nose alone takes me someplace. You want to taste it?
Yeah, it's almost a little minty too.
Yeah,
I put a picture in my head. I feel like I'm sailing, but like I feel like I could be sailing down the sea, wind in my hair.
Yeah. You look great with that. I can picture it.
Well, this is quite different than the first one.
Oh boy, I love this whiskey.
We actually just drank this over the weekend. I didn't have any of it, but you gave some to our friend Grant.
Yeah.
I feel like he loved it.
He did, yeah. He had both of these whiskeys. He went back to this bottle 3 times.
I'm chewing right now.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in this. I have mixed feelings about this.
Fair.
I totally understand why people who like this flavor profile will love this whiskey. I get distracted by the smokiness.
Really?
Yeah, like it's on the roof of my mouth, it's towards the back. I'm a little bit chewy. I'm trying to get rid of that. I've only taken one sip, so
it gets into the nooks and crannies.
It does.
For sure. This is one that I think is acquired, but I think that taste can be acquired rather quickly.
Definitely.
So go ahead and take your second sip, and I'll
Just
share
keep
some.
drinking.
Yeah, I'll share some of the tasting notes here. I think that there's a salted butterscotch, a dark caramel. I like the salty aspect here as much as I like the sweet aspect. And this one is finished in bourbon, sherry, and port casks. And I think that flavor profile really comes through. The port, I think, is giving it something very unique here. I think that's bolstering that sweetness. Now, on the back end, it really does go to that smoke. But on the front end, you're getting something a little fruity. There's no honey here. It's definitely brown sugar, darker sweetness.
So I definitely get that saltiness that you're talking about. I almost think it's like a salted peach or a salted apricot. I like this. It does get a little better for me the more that I drink it. That tends to happen with things that you're a little wishy-washy with at first. There's nothing off-putting. I do think people who like scotches or don't like overly peated scotches will love this one as well.
Yeah, this is not your tire fire. This isn't hugely peated. It's not hugely smoky for sure.
Totally palatable, even for me.
I think there's a fair amount of peat in here, but I think it's very little smoke. And I think
Right.
that makes a huge difference. Some people equate those things. It's not always the case.
Right.
I think that this whiskey is so beautifully balanced. I bought this one well after the Sandend. Idea being, I tasted the Sandend and went, oh, I love this. Wait, they have a peated version? I definitely want to check that out and see if it's as good as the Sandend. And this one is actually crushing my palate to the point where I think this is going to be the other Scotch whiskey that I keep on the shelf from now on.
Nice.
I will dabble a little bit in some other smoked peated whiskeys just to make sure, but this one is quickly becoming my favorite sipper of the year, especially for this summertime. I think it's great. It reminds me of the beach, makes me feel happy, and what more can you ask from your whiskey than to feel happy?
So, new favorite brand.
Yeah, Glenglassaugh has been the non-American brand of the year for me. I do have some American brands that are leading the charge for me overall, but I'm really enjoying this Glenglassaugh.
So, we had a really great time drinking these. But I also had a blast in Leavenworth, and we did all kinds of fun stuff. We went around town, we went paddle boarding down this beautiful river. The area is just spectacular. Take a look.
If you get a chance to visit Leavenworth, Washington, we think that it's absolutely worth the trip. We think that these whiskeys are worth the tasting. Holladay, Still Austin, and a couple of Scotch whiskeys from Glenglassaugh. Thank you for joining us, and from wherever we are.
To wherever you are.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Which one did you sip?
The one on the right.
I did too. That's
You
good.
did?
So
Oh.
good.